welcome to my Pilates class today. We're going to be using a chair for pretty much the whole of the class. So take a seat and join in with me. Ideally your seat is going to be nice and, the seat especially of your chair is going to be nice and hard. So just so that you can feel your sit bones, and we're going to start sitting up really nice and tall right on those sit bones. So I'm sort of having a bit of a wiggle about. Just to find that. If you've got a really cushioned seat, it won't be as useful, shall we say, but otherwise still valid. So let's just have a really lengthened spine, legs quite parallel, and just take some nice deep breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. And just exploring as you take these breaths, exploring where the breath is going in your body. So as I'm breathing in through my nose, I can feel my rib cage expanding, at the front of my chest expanding a little bit maybe. I'm thinking about expanding around the back as well. And then when I'm breathing out, noticing that the ribs draw down and connect to the hips. But the whole time I'm trying to lift off of my hips, lift the rib cage away, lengthen the rib cage away from the hips and almost sitting up out of that chair. And then let's just add a breath in with the shoulder shrug and then a breath out, allowing the shoulders to just naturally draw down and seeing if we can get a little bit extra height. So breath in and breath out and breath in. Sometimes it helps if you close your eyes, so you're not taking in lots of other information around you. It would also help if I wasn't talking and trying to breathe at the same time, but hopefully you're continuing with your breathing. So breath in, lift those shoulders up, breath out, draw them down and grow forwards. Let's take the shoulders forwards and backwards. In fact, let's swing the arms a little bit. So as I'm bringing my arms forwards, I'm taking the backs of the hands forwards and then I'm turning the backs of the hands behind me and sort of allowing the shoulders to round forwards. If I just go sideways as well, I'm allowing my shoulders, my upper back to round a little bit and then opening up the chest when I take the arms back. And noticing there's a tiny rock backwards and forwards on my pelvis, not a great big one. And then let's start to make that movement a little bit bigger. Let's bring the hands up to the shoulders and now let's really push back. So again, if I go sideways, I'm rounding my back, I'm tucking under with my pelvis, that's my breath out, and then a breath in to sit really tall, almost over-exaggerate that lower back arch. Breath out, and a breath in. And feel the sit bones rocking backwards and forwards, so you're going behind the sit bones when you're all the way back there, and almost coming in front of the sit bones when you pitch forwards. Breath out, breath in, thinking of lifting the chest. This is concaving the chest. This is drawing everything in. Brilliant. And then take the hands on the shoulders and let's circle all the way around. Now I'm keeping my hips fairly still. I'm not really moving backwards and forwards much, but I'm allowing that rib cage to shift forwards and backwards. Again, I'm going to go to this side for a change. And I would like you to think about taking the biggest circle that you can with your elbows. So they go all the way around. Hopefully this should feel quite nice. So the idea of a class, this is meant to be a lunchtime class. You know, in the middle of your day, if you're working from home and you happen to be sitting at the chair all the time or sitting at the table, these are just some things you can do as a little micro break at any stage during the day. So hopefully the shoulders and upper neck got all nice and warm. So let's just hold on to the edge of your chair, just securing your hands a little bit, which basically is going to keep your shoulders nice and still, and turn excuse me, the head from side to side. And again, I encourage you to close your eyes so that you can really feel, are those shoulders staying exactly where they were, or is one shoulder following you a little bit? Hopefully not, although it might be doing that on your tighter side. come to face forwards and then take your ear towards your shoulder, but actually think of taking the upper ear up towards the ceiling. And just apply a little bit of pressure, a bit more pulling down onto the chair seat on the side that you're leaning away from. Let's hold one side. So with this stuff, just mirror me if you can. So I'm leaning away, getting a nice strong stretch at the side of the neck here. Doesn't matter what's going on with the other hand, actually. Just take that away and put that on your legs. And then just turn your chin towards your shoulder and then keep at that angle and look up towards the corner and the opposite side of the room. So it's like you're drawing a diagonal line with your chin from side to side. Come back to look at your shoulder, turn to face forwards, but we're still tilted over the side, and then release. Swap the hands over. So holding on to the seat of the chair a little bit more, lean away. If any of this feels really uncomfortable, just stay there, hold it, breathe, don't overdo it. And then you're going to turn your chin towards your shoulder. I'm looking at my shoulder, and then staying at that angle, take your chin and your eye line up to the opposite corner. So drawing a diagonal even line with your chin. And this might feel a little bit uncomfortable, that's absolutely fine. Good, to finish off, look at your shoulder, turn to face forwards again and come nice and upright. Great, let's put the hands across the shoulders. Hanging on to your shoulders and let your arms be nice and heavy. I can see in the monitor that you can't actually see what's happened to my arms because I'm all in black. I've got my arms crossed over. And then let's just take a little looking up, little back bend and a circle, a mini circle around. Finish with that extension up and go round to the other side. I'm going quite slowly, but this actually feels really quite comfortable. I'm imagining that I'm making a crease sort of at my lower ribs. Letting the head roll with it. And as you get more used to this, maybe go a little bit bigger. So just getting that whole of that upper body mobilised, stretched and moving in general. Brilliant. Let's take some, get the spine moving a little bit. So we've done some pelvic tilts here. Now let's take a roll down. In fact, I'm going to go at a slight angle so that you can see. So let's take the chin down onto the chest, rolling down through your body. Maybe slide your hands down your shins to your feet until your chest is on your thighs. That's the word I was looking for. And then you lead with the head to come back up again. And maybe that's too big a movement for the moment, so you could just make it a little bit smaller. You could tuck the chin in, round, and then lead with the head to come forwards, up and back. So as I tuck the chin in, I'm tilting the pelvis under, rounding the spine, and then arching in the opposite direction. A couple more. This time make them a little bit bigger if you want to, if that feels okay. Rounding, let everything relax. Make sure you're breathing all the way through. Let's reverse the movement. So keep it quite small to start with. So lifting your chest, lifting your face up to the ceiling. Roll forwards, hinging at the hips. Then let your head relax. And I'm supporting my hands are on my knees, my thighs. And then I'm rolling back up. When I'm rolling back up, I'm strongly tucking under, pulling in my belly button nice and tight to start that movement. Lifting the chest, hinging forwards from the hips. Allow the head to relax. Tuck the pelvis under, strongly pull the belly button in, unravel the spine. A couple more of those. Again, if you want to go much bigger, go all the way down. Make this the last one, or just leave those hands there. Brilliant. Okay. I'm going to come back to face forwards. So we're going to take some pelvic circles. So the idea here is to lift the ribcage off of the hips, so we're sitting up really nice and tall. You're tucking the pelvis under. We've already done this movement. We've already done the pelvic tilt, posterior tilt, and then coming forward. So you're on your sit bones, maybe go a little bit more forwards. Let's just shift. Let's shift from side to side for the moment. And I'm actually pushing from side to side. I'm shortening in my waist, and I'm actually lifting one sit bone off of the seat slightly, and I'm pushing down a little bit in the foot. So we're just going from side to side, and I'm shortening as I go from side to side. So let's go all the way round now. Let's go all the way to the back. Now go round the outside of your sit bones and then forwards across the front, round to the outside of your other sit bone and to the back, and all the way round. And if you've got a nice hard seat, this should actually feel quite nice, and you should be very aware of where your sit bones are. Let's change direction, go around the other way. And also just mobilising the pelvis, waking up those deep muscles around the pelvic floor, really, really important for our overall health, and not something that we generally think about. Great, so that was the pelvis going around in circles. Let's take the rib cage round in the same sort of way. So this time try and plant the hips a little bit more, and now we're shifting the box of your rib cage round. And you'll notice that the pelvis, my pelvis is doing a similar movement to what we've just done, but not quite as big. And then going the other way. Great, so rounding. Excellent. Okay, let's look at bringing the legs, taking the legs out into like a second position. So opening up the legs. You need to sit at the front of the seat, the edge of the seat here. Make sure your legs are turned out nice and equally. They're turning out from the hip socket. Knees are going over the toes. Try and pin the knees back a little bit, but don't make yourself uncomfortable. If you need to be a little bit more forwards here, that's absolutely fine. Make sure that you're in a good neutral pelvis. Let's take one arm up and just take a really nice side stretch, and then over to the other side. So the goal is to lift up first, and then we're going over. You're thinking about stretching down the side seam of your back. Breath in maybe as you come through the centre, breath out as you go over. Try not to, I was just aware just then, I just was lifting my sit bone off the seat. Try and almost plant the sit bone that you're leaning away from. Try and push it into the seat a little bit more. It's going to make that stretch much more effective. Good, I'm just going to turn my seat sideways to show you something. So at the moment we are working sideways on, so when I'm here. So we're going to add on to that. You're going to go over to the side, and then you're going to push the upper ribs back as you reach this arm forwards, and then you're going to come back to the side and up to the top. Over to the side, so this is really sideways on. As I lower this hand, I'm pushing the opposite part of my upper back. The hand is reaching towards the corner, this part of my back is reaching towards the opposite corner. Then I come back sideways and then up to the top. Let's try 4 of those. Great job if you've already done it, if you know what that movement is like. So we're lifting up, so just mirror me, don't think about rights and lefts. Over to the side, so this is focusing down the side seam. Now push back with your ribs. Let your head just drop, reach this forward hands towards the corner, come back to the side and up to the top. Over, so sideways, pushing back. So there's a bit of a pelvic tilt going on there as well. Come back to sideways and up to the top. One more each side. To the side and push back. and side, breathing all the way through. Side and push back and underneath that arm and up to the top. Fantastic. Let's do a similar thing without, not a similar thing, but let's bring our legs, let's roll our legs in. So you're going to turn to the one side, drop the knee in and then open out the leg. Turn to the other side, drop the knee in. So I'm remaining with one butt cheek on the chair. So it's actually quite comfortable. I'm making sure that I'm fully facing the side and then opening everything out again. Turning to the side, drop this knee down, drop that foot heel up towards the ceiling. You don't want that foot in the wrong position, and then opening out. So everything is turning around to the side, opening out, turning around to the side and opening out. And again, just mirror me if you can. So it's going to be a little bit of work on the hips. So let's turn around to the side. The hand that's on the back behind me is on the chair, and now I've pushed my hips off. So I'm actually I'm resting on my hand, and that's given me a nice bit of support. If you can, knee down to the floor and straighten. Knee down to the floor and straighten those legs. So we're in the perfect lunging position. It's quite tough. If that's too much for you, just bring the legs a little bit closer maybe. Hold the back of the chair or another piece of furniture. Just bend the knees as much as you can and then straighten. But the point is the spine is in the middle. We're going all the way down and we're pushing up. Working both legs equally, although you will feel it much more on the back leg. Okay, let's take that away. Let's bend the front leg. My hand is again on the chair for support. Bend the front leg, make sure the knee is above your ankle, and now straighten out the back leg. Hands, take the same hand as the back leg down to the floor. Just watch me because we're going to turn away from the camera. You're going to take the hand off the chair and reach it up towards the ceiling so that you're rotating around. And then bring it back onto the chair and lift your chest. Let's do that. So hand down, straighten out that back leg. Drop the hips down if you can. Lift the other arm off the chair, rotate out. Hand back on the chair, square your chest up, open out that back foot. Look what's happened to this hip. So I've got that back foot at a right angle now to the front one. This hip has opened out. Now I'm going to take a warrior pose. Actually, I'm going to take that arm behind me and I'm going to take that arm there. And then bring that back arm over, square the back foot up, sit your bottom back on the chair, bend that leg in. Woo! Well done, all on the other side. So let's turn around to the side first. So we're taking some lunges first. Lunges are tough, just skip this bit if you don't like it. But if you can, we're in the perfect position, 2 90-degree angles. Knee brushes the floor and then you straighten the legs. The chest stays upright. Good, so brush the floor and come upright. You could hang on to the back of the chair, not go quite so low, but do try and fully straighten those legs. You could maybe bring the legs a little bit closer together. Do what you can. Okay, so let's go all the way back with that back leg, nice and straight if you can. Keep the front knee above the ankle. My hand is on the chair for support to start with. The other hand goes down onto the floor. Drop the hips down. So we're getting a hip flexor stretch on that leg at the front. Take the hand off the chair, lift up towards the ceiling. And breathe. Try and lift up out of the floor. Place the hand on the chair, open up that back foot and lift. Chest. And I think I then took the arm back and the other one forwards. This is like a warrior pose in yoga. It's very strong on the legs. I must admit, so I'm going to put my hand back on the chair. I'm going to bring this arm up and over. As that comes over, I'm going to parallel the hips and that back leg again. Did we do that twice? I think I did it twice. Let's do one more rotation up. Maybe we've done 2 on this side, but that'll be fine. Good, and then hand down, sit your bottom back on, bend that knee in, come up to the top and well done, open out. Brilliant, bring those legs together, good job. Okay, that was quite hard work, little bit of difficulty in the middle of class there. I'm going to just turn my chair on a slight angle. Let's do some nice footwork. So again, sitting on your front edge of your chair, now nice and upright. Let's lift all the toes and then place them all back down. Lift all the toes, place them all back down. So we're just hinging from the toe joint, big toe joint across the little toe joint and place them back down. Lifting all the toes, place the big toes only down. Lift them up, place the little toes only down. And I might pull some faces here because this is quite difficult. Lift them up, big toes only, lift, little toes only. One of each. So I'm going to stay where I am with one foot and put the big toe of the other foot and then swap, and swap, and swap, and swap. Lift all the toes up. From your little toe, come down one toe by next to the other, one by one I should say, to your big toes. Lead with the big toes to lift back up again. Little toes to big toes, big toes to little toes, big toes to little toes. Oh, really difficult. Little toes, oh, that's not really happening for me today. Let's try that one more time. Big toes first. Oh, yeah. That's quite funny. Little toes, oh, yes. Okay, well, hope you had more success with that than me. So this next one's called windscreen wipers. We're going to keep the heels where they are and the knees where they are. And actually put your hands on your knees. And keep your feet, so keep the ball of your foot quite flat on the carpet, the floor, the rug, whatever you're working on. If you're finding it a bit sticky, if you've got bare feet, then by all means put some socks on for this work. But it's actually quite nice to be able to see what's going on with your toes, especially for that last exercise. So we're going both directions, rotating around the shin bones. Really good exercise. Let's go both in and both out. Both in and both out. So the temptation is to want to let the whole leg join in. Keep the knees still. And try not to, I'm doing it myself a little bit, try not to curl your toes in, especially when you come inwards. So keep the ball of your foot flat. So from your big toe joint to your little toe joint is nice and even on the floor. Great, okay, we're going to lift those toes. You're going to scrunch and scoop your heels forwards. Lift your toes, put the ball of the foot in, scoop your heels. So these are called caterpillars and you'll gradually end up with your legs almost straight. Reverse it. Lift your toes up scrunched. Oh, I'm falling off my chair. Dig in and then unravel the feet. Good, and again. Lift the toes, scrunch. Scrunch and scoot in order to go forwards. Lift the toes in a scrunched position, dig the toes in, and as you unravel your feet, your heels will roll back. Hopefully, if this isn't working for you, one more set, then just think of it as a work in progress. Great, okay, let's stay sitting on the edge of our chair. Let's go through the feet, so you're lifting the heel, pointing the toes, go through the ball of the foot, put the heel down, swap sides. Heel, toes, put the toes down, put the heels down. So one leg at a time. I'm trying to sit up really nice and tall, lifting my rib cage off of my hips. And yeah, so a good hip flexor strengthening exercise, but also you're using your abdominals. Let's get a little bit faster. And now, so you can hang on to the back of the chair slightly if you need to. That just helps a little bit. The focus is the leg in the air. So you're just sort of pushing off pushing off. Keeping those abdominals braced. Good, and then let's go 2 at a time. Go through the feet, pointing the toes. Brilliant, let's turn out, turn parallel, out and parallel. Out and parallel, in and parallel. Out and parallel, in and parallel. Out, parallel, in, out, in. 2 more sets, and in, and out, and in, and out. Last one, and in, and relax. Brilliant, okay. A little bit more functional movement every day. Just training your squat pattern from your chair. So feet are nice and wide, pretty much as wide as the legs of your chairs. Just sit forwards and take a hip hinge. In fact, dig your fingers into the tops of your thighs. So you're pitching forwards, taking that hip hinge, which means that the only thing that's changing is the hinge at the hip, or the angle at the hip. The shape of my spine does not change at all. Then I would like you to, in fact, as we sit upright, we're going to just push the arms back and then reach the arms forwards, turn the palms up, just lift your bottom off of the seat and then come back, push those arms back, palms are facing the other way, opening up the chest, reach and scoot. So the weight is going into my heels. Great. So spine is staying nice and upright. In its natural curves, there's no change. There's no reaching forwards with those shoulders. Try not to lift the arms too high. Get that rotation so that thumbs are out, palms are up. Now let's go all the way to here. From here, just standing. The perfect squat position, sit to stand. Really good functional movement. From here, we're just going to reverse it. We're bringing the palms up. You're sending the bottom back. The weight is in your heels. You could just hover, maybe, and then you sit upright. Pitch forwards, hips off and straighten. Drive through your buttocks. Switch the buttocks on as you come up. So you're there, the weight is through the heels. It's almost like, I've got floorboards here, there's about a gap like that underneath the floorboards between and then there's the earth. It's almost like I'm trying to, as I stand, I'm trying to push my feet through these floorboards, which would be not ideal. The imagery is there, hopefully. So make sure that weight is on the heels so that this shouldn't be quaddy, it shouldn't be hurting your thighs. If you're bringing your knees too far forwards and my heels automatically lift off, or you're maybe collapsing your back, then it's going to become much more work in the fronts of the thighs. Hopefully that won't be happening. Great. Okay, so I just wanted to do some squats there. Brilliant. A little bit of spinal rotation. So sitting nice and evenly. Again, at the front of your chair, let's have your legs a little bit apart, but nice and parallel. So we're looking at rotation in the spine. In fact, let's just do this first of all. So as far as your sit bones are concerned, so this might look very similar to the one I did earlier, where I was shifting from side to side and shortening in my waist. But actually, I don't know whether you can see, my knees for this one are staying on the same level. If I put my hands there, they're on the same level. The one I'm doing now is a rotation around the spine. So one hip is coming back, the other one is coming forwards. One knee is coming back, the other one is pushing forwards. I'm using the floor. There isn't really a shortening in the waist. There's a tiny bit, but nowhere near as much as before. My waist is staying same length, but I'm rotating my pelvis around my spine. A really important movement every single day. So now let's just turn. So forget about the legs, forget about what's happening with that, it will naturally happen. Let's turn to face the back and sweep the arm over to the opposite knee and then swap sides. To the opposite knee, turn. So there's that rotation has already happened. I've ended up with one knee in front of the other, the arm's coming up, and then, so this is the old turning round to reverse, sorting out your parking in your car. Such an important movement. The spine needs to be really mobile on a rotational plane. Good, so this is going one way. Let's go the other way. Take the arm up and over. Up and over. I'm really thinking about it as well. And your eye line is going to follow the hand. And if, like me, you've got a slightly awkward chair back, don't worry too much about it. So it's actually more comfortable for this one just to bring the hand to the same knee. Good, let's go back to the first one, just make it much bigger. So you're going to go, look behind you, up and over. Now you're going to go down to the opposite foot. In fact, have your hands fairly close together. Opposite foot, reach up and over, down to the opposite foot. Reach up and over, down to the opposite foot, up and over. So I'm trying to keep my hands fairly close together, but it's more just they're both going in the same direction. Couple more. Great, now let's go the other way. Lifting up, look behind you, come down to the floor, lift forwards and up, look behind you, down to the floor, forwards and up, behind you, down to the floor, forwards and up. Whew. Excellent, and then just take a nice roll up in the centre, fantastic. So what I feel that we really did well then was we warmed ourselves up for a beautiful seated rotation. So let's just bring our feet and knees together. We wanted the legs to stay still this time, so the pelvis stays still, and then we just rotate around the spine. So I'm going to take my back hand, I'm going to get hold of the back of the chair somewhere, I'm going to put my opposite hand on the opposite outside thigh, and use this to help me get a little bit of torque and tension as I go around. And stay there and breathe. Be very aware that both sit bones are evenly weighted. Come back to the centre. And also try and keep your knees level with each other. That's why we've got the knees together, legs together. Swap to the other side. Notice, oh, if this is your tighter side, definitely my tighter side. And my legs have gone, oh yes. So if you look back at your legs, I've really cheated on this side. So because it's my tighter side, I've now got my left knee in front of my right knee by about 1.5 inches, 2 inches. Because I'm compensating, because it's much tighter in my spine, and so my hips are joining in to help me rotate around more. That's okay, but I basically want to try and get a little bit more rotation on this tighter side. So one more time each side. Breathing, keep those knees glued together. So second time round, and if you really breathe and relax, you should be able to go a little bit further, maybe change where you're holding onto the chair, and then last one, turning, looking behind you. Great job. Okay, 1 minute left or so, 2 minutes left. This is meant to be a 40-minute class. It's meant to start at 10 past. I was a little bit late today. Let's try some. Let's just take one more seated stretch. Actually, take hold of the back of the chair. And again, if you haven't got the back of the chair, just place your hands in your lower back, pin those elbows back, which are really nice holding onto the back of the chair. Lift your chest and just open up the front of the chest. Try and pin elbows together. So depending on how high up your hands are, I need to go quite low for this because my shoulders are quite tight at the back. Then my hands don't go comfortably very well together. So I'm using my hands, keeping my hands quite low, opening up that chest, and then have a little well-earned slump, and hopefully see you again soon. Thank you very much.